Hey everyone, welcome to another episode from Pro Engineering. In this episode, we are going to reiterate the fact that I simply don't have enough desktop space for the Traxxas UDR, but we're going to do what we can. This is the factory replacement clear unpainted body from Traxxas. These do come fully cut. This one here wasn't intended for the light equipped version, so I did have to cut out this panel in the front as well as this notch here at the rear. What we're going to focus on in this episode is I'm going to install lights on this truck. Now the truck already does have the light kit. The lights I want to install are ones that the actual truck simply does not have. We're going to put some headlights on it and some taillights. And again, I know that these are in reality plastic bodied trucks that seldom drive at night, if ever. And Traxxas simply created these light kits to give a more realistic look on one of the real trucks. I don't care about that. I want some actual headlights. And that's what we've got here. This kit comes with taillight buckets, which we'll snip off right there, headlight buckets and headlight trim. So this is the bucket right there, and this is the trim. So for the trim, very carefully snip it here at the bottom. Now these are nylon, so they're fairly flexible. When they're this bulky, on the other hand, they're pretty darn rigid and very durable. The orientation for this, if you look at the front of the car, you'll have this is the passenger side and this is the driver's side if you're in the United States. And it's going to look roughly like that. To install them, we're going to mark out where the two holes are right there, because then on the outside, this trim piece will fit there and give it a finished look. It's really up to you where you want it, but it's going to have to go in this area here. It's a little hard to see. There's that little bend right there. So basically in this panel is where the light is going to go. So I'm going to hold it there. I'm going to mark it off cam because I obviously can't do it through the camera. So holding the light right about here. I've got it so that the bottom part of the light is parallel with this lip on the front of the bumper. And I'm going to mark out that hole, which I've slightly gotten crooked. And that hole. Just like that. When I put both headlights on, I realized that I wanted this one shoved out a little bit more, so that's what I did. I'm going to ignore these inner ones, and we'll just use these outer ones. Now, I could use some alcohol to wipe them off, but I'm just going to go ahead and use my body post tool and mark basically smack dab in the center. Now, I didn't go all the way through. I just wanted to get these started so I can take off the lens. Okay, and there's on that side. We'll do the driver's side. With the holes drilled, we can now test fit the light. So that will just line up right there, and we'll slot this in just like that. And cool, we didn't screw it up. I like to see that. Now what we have to do is mark where the headlight is. We'll just hold this in place the best we can. Get the marker and just come in here and just mark it. So now we know that we just have to mask a little bit larger. Do this to both sides. I discovered that for the headlights, it's surprisingly easy to put a piece of tape on the inside, and then I reinstalled the nylon retainer, and you can get a very good approximation of how much you want to trim off. I want to cut away roughly from the center of the trim piece, and that'll give us, I think, a good paint overlap. For the rear taillight, we have a little bit of an interesting way of installing this. So here we have the lamp. Now it's not complete the way you see it here. We'll get into additional parts shortly, but the installation method is to just kind of get it in here, and the bottom of the tail lamp will be at the same height as the bottom right here of this inner part of the bed. You want to make sure it's jammed forward so that that is flat, and then we can get our marker and very carefully, there we go. Very carefully lay this out. And we'll have to do up on the inside here, but I can't do that on camera. Of course, don't forget the other side. So you see I did it on this side already. It was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. We'll tape this off. We'll try and get that crease out a little bit. Trace that. Because these are straight edges, I'm going to use my ruler and cut all straight lines. This one's a little bit less than straight because the taillight does go around that corner right there. So put a little bit of a bend in it. Peeling this off the table and get these tweezers. The other side I was able to get on in one shot. On this side here, now that I'm being recorded, it's going to take me 3 to 4 years, I suspect. And I've already screwed it up. Come back here, you. Okay. I'm going to start with the inside and kind of just roll it so I can get roughly this corner here lined up, which I did earlier. And again, maybe I was just lucky. I had to do that off cam. It just wasn't going to work. What I did is I lined up this back corner here and then just worked my way down. It seems to fit pretty well. Okay, we'll get this pushed down, get that pushed down. And I think we're okay. We'll take the lens, seat it in here, and it should all but disappear. And I think we're pretty much on target. This is not the easiest thing in the world, but I will say this, I thought it was going to be way worse. Everything has been painted in a chrome paint, and I think it's chrome enough. Okay, and there we go. So we'll take the lights. I went ahead and painted the upper ones, or I should say the lower ones, excuse me, the lower ones in red and the upper ones in orange. Just trim these off. I have an LED set that I picked up that has front white bulbs and amber bulbs and rear red bulbs and amber bulbs. Okay, so once these are cut, oops, a second. Okay, we can see the orientation that they go. We've got that little angle at the back on both pieces. We'll put a little bit of cement in here just to make sure that these don't rattle themselves loose. This should just push all the way in, and we'll do the same for the orange. All right, so for the orange, they'll be able to go in either orientation, just like that. There we have it. All right, so upper and lower taillight are installed. And you can see at the rear that they will accept a 5mm LED. It has just come to my attention that one of these holes is a little bit full of goo. Do make sure that the hole is cleaned out prior to installation, unlike what I just did. Now it's time to install both the rears and the fronts into the car body. To install, we'll start with the front. So I'll put the rears aside and grab our passenger headlight. The first thing you want to do, of course, is using a microfiber towel, something that won't scratch, is make sure that the inside of this is clean, because if you don't, well, that's it. Now to hold all this together, what I'm going to use, I think, is going to be some shoe goo. And I'm going to install I'm going to put a little dab right here and right here so that when I push this through, it gets onto these studs. I don't want to put any here because I'm worried that if I push through there, that it might squish out and get on the outside of the Lexan. All right, I've got some adhesive in there, and we will line these up. I painted the front trim in silver, and then the actual buckets, again, I did those in chrome. We'll just line all these up and squish them together. All right, and that is installed. I do want to note something very, 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 very important. On the inside of the fender, where the headlight bucket resides, the clearance between the headlight bucket and the front wheel at full compression, cranked to the inside, which means on the passenger side to the left and on the driver's side to the right, clears this on mine barely by about 1.5 to 1 millimeter. So it is just about there. If you have any concern that your tire is going to hit this, maybe you've installed larger tires, you've somehow increased the compressed travel, then these headlights probably are not for you. In fact, I would say that for anybody really aggressively driving their truck, these headlights are probably a bad idea. So we've got it on both sides of the truck. That's what we're going to get. And let's move on to the rear. Thoroughly wipe this down. Because remember, once the taillight goes in, that is all. Reseat that taillight. So once your taillight is positioned, go ahead and use some hot glue to hold that in place. I put a glob on the side of this housing here and then just slid it into place when the glue was still hot, and it solidified and cured just perfectly. So that's right where I wanted it to be. The next thing to do is, with your hot glue gun and quite a lot of patience, is to seal the perimeter. This has to be done, otherwise all the dirt kicked up from the back tire will just get kicked up and get inside the taillight and kind of make it look terrible. The tough part will be the bottom here because it's a larger gap. Also, with the paints that I've used, these are Tamiya PS paints. You can see that there is nothing wrong with the paint on the outside of the body. This may not be true with all kinds of polycarbonate paint, so please do this with your own discretion. There are other alternatives to sealing the taillight, but remember that you don't want to seal the taillight along the perimeter and cause any leakage into the light because it would ruin the outcome. Hot glue seems to work the best, but please do it at your discretion. The front has also been sealed with hot glue around the entire perimeter in a perhaps not so elegant installation, but nevertheless, it is in there. I got a little carried away here at the rear, but you can see that I basically masked off a trim line or panel line, and now I'm just brush painting some Traxxas silver onto it, and this should give us a hopefully more crisp edge and finish the taillight off. All right, and you can see from the side here, we're no longer having that kind of fuzziness of the paint bleed from the original painting. You know, it could have come out better, and it could have come out worse. So I think I am okay with this. Time now to install this body. Body has been installed, and I ran all the wiring for the lights. If you are curious about what I did for the lighting, there is a link right now up on the screen that will show you exactly what I do for all of my wiring. Everything that I do is custom, as most of my applications are not really standard. So let's go ahead and turn the lights off as much as we can anyway, without getting a little bit too dark, and we'll turn the UDR on and power it up. All right, we are going to have to take the camera off, but that is pretty good. Cool. So let's look at the rear. Here we go. Now the red does appear orange, but I can assure you that it is in fact red. And the orange looks really, really bright. They look a lot more subtle in person. But basically that's the look we were going for. I did want to show you a little preview. Let's look inside the car real quick. And I just wanted to show the dash. Let's take a look at that. Notice how everything's completely black right now, but just look for a minute, and I'm going to turn the UDR's fans on. Yeah, that's a light. In fact, that light belongs to the rest of the interior. So I will be covering this next upgrade. Here we have Wanda driving, and Willie is passenger over there. In fact, let's take a look at what Willie is doing. I don't know if anybody can tell, but clearly, instead of being a proper navigator, he appears to be watching some excellent programming. So that is coming soon. Again, our fans are on. For those of you who did not see an earlier episode, these are not just blue LEDs in the fan. Those are operational 12-volt computer fans. And that is about it for the lighting installation on the UDR. As you can tell, there's a lot that's going to be coming up here. In fact, it's not just the interior lighting upgrade that we've done. We've also done quite a bit of little detailing back here. You know, things a little painted up, like these all red molded fire extinguishers have been detailed, and the shock reservoirs and the cooling tanks. You know, just all those little details that help everything. There's a little toolbox back here that is not just for decor. These are all the spare parts required to completely rebuild an MIP drive shaft. So that's kind of a cool little thing because it just looks neat on the back. Painted that. Yeah, there we go. That looks pretty good. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I would suspect that this headlight kit here would appeal to probably around 0.3% of UDR owners. And of that percentage, I cannot imagine that more than 10% of those folks will actually go to the trouble of doing this. This is just a little upgrade that I wanted to do just because I had a vision, and that is it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you soon.